Today I invited BeetlatVoice as a media and Htike. Can you please speak up and start the interview session with us if you're here, if you stay here? ဒီနေ့ညီမဘီလက်အတန်ဆိုတဲ့ UK မှာခြေစိုက်တဲ့ media ကိုဖိတ်ထားပါတယ်ညီမတို့ ਨੇ ဒီ United Kingdom ကိုစားပြုတဲ့သူပေါ့နော်ညီမတို့ ਨੇ အတူတူတခြားနောက်ထပ် European country မှာနေတဲ့ဒီ season ဒီနေ့ Zoom meeting ကို season ပေးတဲ့သူတွေ ਨੇ interview ဖို့အတွက်ညီမဖိတ်ကြားထားတာတော့ကိုဇင်လင်းထိုက်ဒေါက်တာဇင်လင်းထိုက်ဘီလက်အတန်ဖြစ်ပါတယ်
Okay, Dr. Zelenthai Pipare. Thank you, Mr. Lambert. So I was also here joining this revolution. I did hear that you talked about the message to the soldiers in Myanmar. As a ex-soldier, I think the message is very clear. But just in order to actually to focus, to give a focused message to all the soldiers in Myanmar, I'd like you to actually, ask you to give the message like you have already told in our previous speech. So that is one thing. And also, do you have any special message to the soldiers who are fighting for the orders, knowing that this order is not really lawful and the order is unjust? So I'd like to ask you about the message to the soldiers of Myanmar, and also any special message that you want to give.
So as someone who served for 20 years in the United States Marine Corps, it is when I serve, obviously I'm also in a position to give lawful order, as well as I'm also in position to receive a lawful order. And we have to distinguish what is lawful and what is not lawful. We military people train to go after the enemy of the country, of the enemy of the nation, not the enemy internal to the country. And so those are for the law enforcement within the country to handle. And so military exists to prevent external threats and enemies to try to overtake the country. And so as we witness, or throughout history in the Burmese history, I mean, we fought, or at least the revolutionaries, General Aung San and them fought hard to get rid of the British rule as well as the Japanese occupation. So why is that? Because it was external threat. So they formed the military to do that. But now, obviously, the last 50 years, or at least ever since the beginning of the Burmese country, the military, as of 1962 or so, has been just going after domestic agenda, and that's not right. And so there's many unlawful order that the superiors have been giving the soldiers, and it's a courageous act. Obviously, it takes courage to defy lawful order, or what the superior will think is lawful order. But we all have our own wisdom, knowledge, and understanding to figure out what is lawful and what is not. We have that kind of thing. Unfortunately, in the military in Burma, they have been ingrained to just say, yes, man, yes only, and not to defy or not to question authority. And that is not good, because if they tell them to go jump off the cliff, most likely they may jump off, not knowing the danger that why are they doing that. And so at least in American or Western military, we are taught to at least question those kind of things. If it's unlawful, now there's sometimes it's questionable as to what is lawful and what's not lawful. But right now, what is happening in Burma, that's definitely is unlawful orders that soldiers are given to carry out. And yes, it's, again, as I mentioned just now, takes courage to defy that kind of thing, or realizing that their life can be in a line. And so I know in my time in the military, I was fortunate enough that I have never been in a situation where I had to defy what order I was given from my superiors. And I don't give unlawful order to my subordinates either. as far as what I know is to be unlawful. And so I just ask the soldiers out there, they are the one carrying out these orders. The officers are just basically giving them direct order, and they're not necessarily the one doing the act to some extent, pulling triggers, shooting innocent lives, just because the unarmed citizens, just because they want to exercise their right to protest, and killing them indiscriminately. That what bothers me about the situation right now is that soldiers using their guns to go after the military, going after unarmed civilian, their own citizen, their brothers, their sisters, their aunts, their uncle, whatever, those kind of things. And so to me, that is just completely wrong. And most soldiers probably know that, but they're probably fearful of the consequence for their own, if they defy orders. And so unfortunately in Burma, the rule of law, although they say it all the time, but rule of law is not applied. And so I just want to continue to encourage. It takes courage, yes. If they do that, if majority of the soldiers refuse order right now, what are they going to do? So that is what the message is, really, to say that, if they defy this unlawful order, they cannot carry out their mission of continuing to wield influence or threatening the lives of innocent people, general public, terrorizing them daily routine. So I just continue to urge. I know they may be listening, and some of them will have to have a deep, basically questioning themselves and in consideration for their action of the action that they may have to take for the good of the people, not the good of not the good of your superior officers, but the good of the country. That's what they have to consider.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Lamberth. Can you also try to speak in a very short message in Burmese, if you can, to the soldier, because I want them to actually hear you talking in Burmese.
Okay. The make one job your channel be my sitter ribono by pit channel American sitter ya shit ya cool on inside you like it. General sitter sura P.Lamberth ka kwe phuba. P.Lamberth elu sit ana ting biro change how put bare elu loop home hoba. Linda kindness sura P.Lamberth tum ho and pipa Yanduri she la kain ana ting chain and I'm don't put pipare. Era jang ku chano miem ha mi nera ku sit at the good never don't be the machine malu yet a lobo could I make the next sheet catcher anything then a place in a la bureau P.Lamberth change town era malu tembu era upri lawful or a mobile era jang camaro tibare nale bare but lotin lesser nale let it chava yochana mo Kuye atel lu siburi pure Namatown man Mahoda lu P.Lamberth that kindness and the nephew kindness era name bureau low era baby pit good penny era mu this good nanga to it good P.Lamberth this shia era ma sit down a Korea cool camaro lunero sit down longam hobu era kua terrorist lunari era ja era malote man go tell siburi pure canary low canary Malo Bennett, Nim Beba, Nimba, Nim Queen Shiba, Camaro Simale, Jam, attending Sarah Low Beba, Loba, P.Lamberth, Chit say, Era Loba, make a bitch, pure judgment.
Jesus de Mare, Mr. Lamberth.